In this video, what we will learn is how to overload a couple of operators in C++ classes and objects. Operator overloading is simply when you give an operator extra work to do. That means you are giving this operator a task it doesn't normally do. Let's see what I mean. In front of us, we have a class called point. It has a private data member called data of type int. We also have this constructor that initializes this data member, as well as this getter function that simply returns this data member. Down here inside the main, we have 2 point objects, point A that stores 12 and point B that stores 14. Right here, what we're doing is we are adding 12 and 14 of point A and point B, which we should get 26. Right here in this expression, I am wishing to do the same thing we did right here, but unfortunately we are getting an error. This error says no operator plus matches these operands. What this error actually means is that the plus operator right here, it is an arithmetic operator, well, it doesn't know how to add 2 point objects. Well, basically we know that if we say 1 plus 2, this will give us 3. The plus operator will add 1 plus 2. So it knows how to add 2 integers, or for example 2 doubles, like this. But it doesn't know how to add 2 point objects. So what we're going to do is we're going to overload this plus operator to make it add 2 point objects. So we're giving it extra work to do, something it doesn't do normally. This is what operator overloading means. And to do that, let's go ahead and see how we could do that. So again, my goal here is when I want to write this expression right here, I want it to be able to add those 2 data members together. Okay, now let's go ahead and try it right here. So to do this, first of all, we need to define the return type of the function. Because we are trying to add 2 integers, we should have a return type of int. Now the special function is called operator like this, and we need to specify what is the operator. I'm going to say plus, so it is the plus operator. This is the function right here. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to add point A plus point B like this, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass another object of type point, and I'm going to call it other. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say return this data plus other dot get data. I will explain right now. First of all, when you say point A plus point B, point A is the original object that is calling this function. Okay, it is the original object that is initiating this addition process, because it is the one who is calling this function. So it is the first operand. The second operand is point B. That is why I am passing point B as parameter, or excuse me, as argument to this parameter. So what this basically means is that when you say here return this data, first of all, this right here is a pointer. It is called the this pointer. It points to the object. So because point A here is the one who called this function, the this pointer points to this object, okay, the original object. So what I'm doing here is I'm accessing the data member of this object, and I am adding it with the data member of the other object. And what is the other object? This point B. It is the second operand. So the second operand is always passed as argument to the function parameter, and the first argument is the one who calls the function right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. As you can see, it works properly. This one is for this line right here, and the second line, which is this one, well, we can see that it works properly. So what I did here is that I overloaded the plus operator to make it add 2 point objects. So now look what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing for the subtraction, multiplication, and division operator. So pause this video and try it on your own. So let's go ahead and try it out. I'm going to delete this line, and let's go up here inside the class and try to overload first of all the minus operator. It's the same thing, it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the return type, which is going to be integer, and I'm going to say operator minus like this. Of course, I'm going to pass the second operand as parameter to the function, and the first operand, of course, is the one who is calling the function, so which is point A. Now, if I'm going to say here return this data, I am calling or accessing the data member of the first operand, and I'm subtracting it with the other .get data. Okay, so this is it. It's very simple. I am subtracting point A from point B. So I'm going down here inside the main. I'm going to say cout point A. It is the first operand which calls this function, and the second function, or excuse me, the second operand, which will be point B, it will be passed as argument to this parameter. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the same thing for minus, or excuse me, the multiplication. So I'm going to say int operator multiplication like this. Make sure to pass point other like this, and I'm going to go ahead and say return this data multiplied by other.get data. So you get the idea. It's very simple. I'm going to go ahead, copy this and paste it again to do for the division, but this time for the division what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a backslash, or a front slash, excuse me, and right here I'm going to fix it to this. Now let's go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to copy this 2 times, and this time I will fix the operator. And as you can see, we're not getting errors. Why? Because we simply overloaded these operators to make these operators either add, subtract, multiply, or divide 2-point objects. Let's go ahead and try it out. As you can see, it works properly. So we are able to add 2-point objects, subtract them, multiply them, and as well as divide them. Okay, so this is operator overloading. Well, here what we did is we are overloading arithmetic operators. But right now what we will do is we will try to overload comparison operators. And what are the comparison operators? They are the, for example, the equal sign to test for equality, the difference sign, the less than sign, less than or equal, greater than, and greater than or equal. Let's try to go ahead and overload these operators. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those right here, and I'm going to keep those functions right here for you. Okay, now what I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say something like, well, first of all, before overloading and showing you how to overload, I'm going to say bool expression, bool like this, expression like this, and I'm going to say point A equal to point B like this. Okay, now this shouldn't work. As you can see, we get an error. It is the same error that we got here. And again, it means that the equality operator right here doesn't know how to test for equality for 2-point objects. Okay, now what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to say cout bool alpha like this, and I'm going to mention after it the expression like this. Now let's go ahead and try to overload the equality operator. We know when we test for equality, for example, when I say 1 equal to 1, this expression right here returns either true or false. So it returns a boolean. Comparison operators return either true or false. So the return type will be bool. And I'll say operator like this, and I'll say equal like this. And of course, we need to make sure that we pass a parameter. So point other like this. So right here, when you say point A equal to point B, point A is the one who is calling the function, so it is the original object if you want, and the second object, or is the second operand, which is point B, is the one that is going to be passed as parameter to this function. So what I can do is I'm going to say return this data equal to the other dot get data. So I'm testing for equality. And what I just did right now is that I overloaded the equality operator. Now what we will do is we're going to do the same thing for the difference operator. It's very simple. I'm going to say bool operator like this, and the difference operator is the exclamation and equal like this. So this is the difference operator. I'm going to go ahead and say point other like this, and right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say return this data different than other dot get data like this. Okay, it is very simple and straightforward. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one last operator, and the others you can do it by yourself. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do for the less than operator. I'm going to say bool operator less than like this, and this will be for the less than operator. Again, it should have the point other parameter, which will be the second operand, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say return this data like this less than other dot get data like this. Okay, and this is it. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Now let me go ahead down here, and we are trying for the equality operator. Let's go ahead and test it. So I'm going to compile and launch my code. As you can see, false, because 12 is not equal to 14. Let's go ahead and try for difference. So different than each other. Let me go ahead, compile and launch. We should get true because 12 is different than 14. Now let's go ahead to write less than. So point A is less than point B. 12 is less than 14. Well, yes, it is. We should get true like this. As you can see, we got true. Now, one last thing. I want to show you another operator you can overload, which is the subscript operator. For example, you have this class in front of you that this time this class has an array as a data member. And it is an array that stores strings, okay? Now, we also have a public function, which is a display all elements. It's just simply, it uses a for each loop. Of course, make sure to check out this video if you want to know more about for each loop. But what it does is that the for each loop loops inside the array, and it simply prints the items of this array, okay? So very simple. But what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to try to overload the subscript operator. What is the subscript operator? Well, for example, you have an array down here in the main. Let me scroll down. Array like this. It has two elements, for example, 1 and 2, okay? And what is the subscript operator? It is when you say array index, for example, 1. Index 1 returns the element at index 1, which will be 2. We start with 0, and then we have 1. Index 1, which is the element 2 at index 1. Okay, so indexing or the subscript operator is used to either fetch or modify a certain element inside an array or a collection. Okay, now what I want to do here is that I want to overload this operator for this object, this grocery list object. What I want to be able to do here is that I want to be able to say LST like this index 1, for example. I want to fetch the element at index 1. And which we have an array here, and the element at index 1 here is 0, 1, it is eggs, okay? Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to accomplish this, but we are getting an error. We need to go ahead and overload the subscript operator. What I'm going to do here, and because the subscript operator returns an element from an array, because my array right here stores strings, the return type should be a string. So string like this, operator, subscript like this, and the parameter here, what it will be an index. So I'm going to specify either index 1, 0, 2, whatever. It should be an integer. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say return like this. I'm going to access the array of my grocery list object. And what I'm going to do here, because we are able to use subscript notation with arrays, I'm going to say something like index. So I am using my array, the array of the object. It is a data member, and because with arrays we can use the subscript notation, I am using it right here to access the element at this index. And now, as you can see, we are not getting errors. Let me go ahead and try it to see if it will work. As you can see, we got the element at index 1, which is eggs. For example, I go ahead and say something like 0, like this, we should get milk, right? And so let's go ahead and try it out. As you can see, we got milk. So I wanted to show you how to also overload the subscript operator when you have a data member of type array inside your class. Alright, this is it about operator overloading. It is a very fun concept to know, so I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to go ahead and practice this concept to make sure you fully grasp this concept. Now, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.